Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. Today we're going to be discussing the 5.0 deck dumps from Magic Online, and it's been looking pretty good this week. That's pretty awesome. We were a little bit late on the actual posting of this, but that's no big deal. So this covers the week from the 20th of February to the 27th of February. So what are we looking at here? Last time we saw 25% of the trophies of just being mono red. This time we're looking at 14.5%. That's a huge change. But the big other change here is that Golgari Gardens is now 13.7%. So this, I think, is due to Gardens having the ability to meta pretty well against red and glitters. And in my opinion, these are like the top three decks that people are fighting with. Mono red, Gardens, and Glitters Affinity, which I think we're seeing in the percentages in the challenges. But if you want to check out the challenges, you can check out Casting Commons on YouTube, and there's also a podcast with that. So after Glitters Affinity at 9.7%, we see Is It Terror, then Fey Variations, which is almost all blue-black, but one lucky pilot with Is It Fey, then Cogate, Dimir Terror, Dredge, just kind of like a lot of 1 and 2 ofs all the way down. So far, I mean, that looks pretty healthy to me as far as the results. And let's dive into it. On the first day, on February 20th, we saw 3 mono red, 3 blue X Fey. Fix this up for us. Let's go over to the lists so that we can point out the ones that are the sickest. So we saw 3 mono red, 3 Fey, 2 Cogate, 2 Terror, and then the one ofs are Gardens, Glitters Affinity, Dredge, Goblin Combo, Walls, and then over here, very spicy mono red Blitz. So let's go through those decks. The first one, Goblin Combo. The thing I wanted to point out was that they are playing Demand Answers now, which is an innovation after this latest set came out. So they've got 8 Deadly Dispute effects, but 2 of them being Demand Answers, and then 2 Fanatical Offering. And Fanatical Offering can actually reset a Putrid Goblin. So you can Deadly Dispute the Putrid Goblin, then it's going to be 1/1. And then if you Fanatical Offering something, or you can even Fanatical Offering the Goblin, you can use your map token pointing at the Goblin, and if you do hit, then it gives it a +1 counter and resets the Goblin so that you can later go off. This Cogates list is playing Fire Ice as their flex slot, and I thought that was pretty sweet. And this second Cogates list is even crazier, playing 2 Breath Weapon, which I feel like doesn't synergize very well, but I think they wanted to be playing Pyroblast and Gorilla Shaman in the sideboard, so they decided not to play Suffocating Fumes. Let's see any mountains, though, so they could have just been playing both, but they chose to play Breath Weapon. I've been hearing that Breath Weapon is very well positioned. It's good against Azorius Affinity. It's good against Mono Red. And then, last but not least, in the Spice level... Oh, no. Well, anyway, we are seeing here Kiln Fiend. Some people call it Hot Dogs. I like to call it Blitz or Kiln Fiend. We've got 3 2-drops. So Festival Crasher, 4 of, G2 Amplifier, 4 of, and Kiln Fiend of 4 of. So obviously Kiln Fiend is your best card in the deck with +3/+0 anytime you cast an instant or sorcery. But Amplifier and Crasher both get +2/+0, and they are playing those and able to power them out with 4 Rite of Flame. So I thought that was kind of sick because they're just going to go land, Rite of Flame, Festival Crasher, whatever, and then try to kill you on turn 2. With the 4 Battle Rage, 4 Manamorphose, one thing that we're not seeing here is Ancestral Anger. They're choosing to play Crash Through and Lava Dart instead, with 4 Apostle's Blessing and 4 Mutagenic Growth, so 8 protection spells. That's kind of sweet, and it probably helps keep them alive. The only thing that they're having issues with maybe would be Edict decks, but they have 3 Underworld Ragehound to deal with the Edict decks. And then I'm highlighting here another Jeskai Affinity. This one is playing, well, it's a Glitters Affinity, but they're playing a ton of different creatures, and they've trimmed on the draw package with Ren's Resolve. Choosing to play a bunch of Ornithopters and Novice Inspectors, Thraben Inspectors as a split. Kind of cool. So the next day, on the 21st, we saw 3 mono red, 3 Isoterror, but 4 of blue Fey decks, blue X Fey, with the 1 of Isit Fey, which is kind of sick. Then all the rest are 1 ofs. So Gardens, Glitter Affinity, Cogate, Dredge, Orosynth, Blue White Familiars, Walls, and Mono Blue Terror. So the first burn deck that I wanted to highlight was basically an all 1-drops deck, choosing to play 4 Demand Answers with 18 lands, and they can demand answers sacrificing either of 4 of Synthesizer and 4 of Implement of Combustion. I think that's a pretty good plan for them. I thought that was a cool list. And then we have Mono Blue Tempo, or Mono Blue Delver. It's really just Mono Blue Terror in my mind. We've got the 4 Terror, the 4 Cryptic Serpent, 4 Delver, 2 Murmuring Mystic. The neat thing here is that they're playing Boomerang instead of Snap, and they're also playing Piracy Charm to force their creature through. This is a not very well known card, but it says target creature gains Island Walk until end of turn, or target creature gets +2/-1 until end of turn, or target player discards a card. So at the very, you can actually target player discards a card on your opponent's draw step, so that if they don't have an instant, they have to discard it. But a lot of time, this looks like it's going to be to force through a terror, and I got by that a couple times. Plus, they have 2 Apostles' Blessing in the sideboard, so this person is very aware that they want to force through that last bit of damage. Here's your Isit Fairies deck, piloted by Gartuyas. It's a relatively stock Isit Fae. They are playing the Escape Tunnel and the Snaps. Snap was a thing that Tart had created, or at least put into the deck. So it's cool to see that continue to be a thing. This Boros Synthesizer is Boros Synth plus 4 All Deck Glitters, and they're supporting it with 4 Thraben Inspector, 4 Novice Inspector, so they're just spewing out tons and tons of artifacts. Otherwise, it's a generally normal Boros Synth deck, and they're also supporting the All Deck Glitters with 4 of Wedding Invitation to give that creature unblockable. So if you want to play a super aggro version of Boros Synth, maybe you could pick out that by Gus Shaman. Then I'm looking at this Azorius Affinity playing Phyrexian Walker here. Kind of a fancy, another 0-drop, so you have 5 Ornithopters basically. They're just on the 4 of Thraben Inspector as well. Nothing else too crazy there. And then here's a Dredge list that's playing 4 of the Rubble Belt Maverick. People were saying, why are we playing this new card? It's kind of cool because it enters the battlefield and surveils 2, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature from the graveyard. I just don't think that +1/+1 counter is going to happen very much. And they are cutting the Mire Triton, which has Death Touch, so maybe you're going to make it a little bit weaker to big creatures on the ground. And then they're also playing as 1 single Seed of Hope, which is mill 2, put a permanent card from the milled cards into your hand. You gain 2 life. And a couple of Exhumes, 3 Gnaw to the Bone, 2 Acorn Harvest. So they've really trimmed around, but they're also playing 1 Mountain and 2 Oliphants. So with 15 lands and 10 land cyclers, looks like only 9 land cyclers. Okay, 10 land cyclers, but only 3 Lotless Giants. That's wild. So they're going to be able to get their lands really easily. They're also playing Shenanigans in the sideboard and Snuff Out. And that Snuff Out really, really surprised me when I got hit by a Snuff Out of Dredge before. So the next day, on February 22nd, the top deck was Boros Synth and actually Bogles with 3 of Bogles, 1 Gardens, 2 Terrors, 1 Fae, Blue X Fae, so Blue-Black Fae, 1 Cogate, 1 Terror, 1 Fams, 1 Mogwarts again, Goblin Combo, 1 Mono Black Control, 1 Flickertron, and 1 Dimir Control. So, the Flickertron is by Raptor56. He's choosing to not play the Unwind. He's actually playing 22 lands plus the 3 Lorien Revealed, so he's never going to get land screwed. And instead of playing Expedition Map, he's playing 3 Crop Rotations. Crop rotation Intron can be a ritual, powering out more things, or it can just oops, I Tron on turn 3. And then he has 6 ways to get colored sources with Energy Refractor and Network Terminal. I really like this list and how it's built to just do the thing. I think that's really cool. And then if you're in paper, you instead of playing 2 Prohibit, you could play 1 Prohibit, 1 Unwind for the infinite mana combo with Unwind and Weather the Storm, which is described in another video. That's the All About Combotron video that I posted a long time ago. And that would allow you to just Rolling Thunder your opponent for lethal or Compulsive Research them for lethal. And that would just like a 1-turn kill with Tron, which is kind of sick. This is a familiars list that I trophied with, which was trying to play as many cantrips as possible and use Murmuring Mystic and Godpharaoh's Faithful to turn those cantrips into huge amounts of value. So I've had a lot of success with that. The only thing that I'm having trouble with is specifically Golgari Gardens. So I'm trying to figure out a way to manage that. So over here in the sideboard, we've got some excludes, which I think can help versus Gardens because it gives you a little bit of extra value. Not really sure how to force through there. So if you're a Gardens player and you're afraid of familiars, tell me why. This is a Boros Synthesizer deck playing all the glitters again. So we did, but it's also playing the 8 Inspectors. Not too much different from the other one, but I guess I just highlighted it again. Here on the 23rd, we've got 4 mono red, 4 Gardens, 2 Terror, 1 Affinity, 1 Fey, 1 Dimir Terror, and 1 Rakdos Madness. So Rakdos Madness has been having a good week with a bunch of trophies. And this one was by Barf, who's playing Demand Answers, which I thought was really cool. That is a Madness Enabler as well as card draw. This Azorius Affinity is playing 8 Novice Inspectors, 8 Thraben Inspectors, plus 0 drops, and 4 Moon Circuit Hackers. They're on the 4 Metallic Rebuke and a bunch of 1 Mana Thoughtcast, so they're all in on going low to the ground and drawing and attacking as fast as possible. And then I saw Mono Red Synthesizer playing Namesticker Goblin, so I gotta check that out. And it looks like this is the synth that was like the Stormburn that I was pushing for earlier, the same main deck that I had, which was the 8 Reckless Impulses for Namesticker Goblins, and no Demand Answers here. In a lot of testing, it does seem like maybe the Reckless Impulse list is just better for the Namesticker Goblin here. So it's cool to see them get a trophy. I love that. On the 24th, we had the top decks were only 2 each of Kawgate, Gardens, and Glitter Affinity. Then we see a mono red Izzet Terror, Dredge, Rakdos Madness, Jeskai Ephemerate, and a Turbo Fog. So, Kawgates. This one is choosing to play Suffocating Fumes and Pyroblast in the sideboard, so I think that might just be better here, but that also makes you a little bit weaker to the Go Wide Azorius Affinity deck. So if you want to be focused on beating Blue-White Affinity with Kawgate, maybe you do want to play the Fiery Cannonades. Then here's a really sick Turbo Fog deck by Ritual Sinkhole. Cards you didn't expect to see. Sapphire's Scary, Hickory Woodlot. Where is it? He had a Singleton Prologue to Phyresis and a Singleton Stream of Thought. So his deck is Turbo Fog, where I'm going to kill you with either Stream of Thought or Poison. And he's using the Hickory Woodlot's Sapphire's Scary, the Vivisection's Insight, and the other different we got Contentious Plan and Experimental Augury, the proliferation spells to really get ahead. And instead of playing the artifact cards, he's playing Explore and Eureka Moment to be able to get more lands onto the table, which is allowing him to ramp that way, which is kind of cool and possibly the way to go forward for Poison Storm. I'll have to think that one through. I like that. That's cool. I was just discussing like, hey, maybe we should just play more fogs and turn it into a Turbo Fog deck. And he said, hold my beer. On the 25th, we saw 3 mono red, 3 Gardens, 2 Glitter Affinity, and then 1 each of Kawgate, Terror, Fams, Jeskai Ephemerate, Turbo Fog, heroic, mono white heroic, and mono blue fae. So this person played the same cantrip heavy deck that I played and trophied as well. So that's really sweet. And I think they didn't even change anything in the sideboard. Congrats to them. And here we have mono white heroic. You got to showcase this deck when it does well. They're playing the 4 all that glitters, and they're looking to dead your opponent really fast with giant creatures like Laguna Band Trailblazer that just get huge. Scary. Looks like they've got 5 protection spells with Blacksmith's Skill and Mutagenic Growth. And then they've got like anti-black with Obsidian Acolyte, anti-red with Lifelinks, got Standard Bear. Pretty stock otherwise. And then we saw mono blue fairies do well, so congrats to the fairies pilot, Matt. Nothing too crazy here, but they're on 4 Cyber Cryptomancer and some Smoke Shrouds. So they get even more through. We've got 2 Echoing Truth and 3 Snap. That's interesting. I bet the Echoing Truth is for mono red specifically, but it also can help versus like Circle of Protection. This Jeskai Affinity list is basically blue-white Affinity splashing for Galvanic Blast. And they're choosing to play the Ardent Recruit Auriok Sunchaser package. No Ornithopters, only a few Gingerbrutes and some 3-man Inspectors. The one different card here is Vault Scourge, which is a lifelink. Phyrexian mana creature for 1 and a Phyrexian. So you can all that glitters that and then get a lot of value by gaining life. So maybe that's good versus red. On the 26th, we've got 4 mono red, 4 glitter affinity, 3 dredge, and then some scraps. Golgari Gardens, Cawgate, Rakdos Madness, and White Weenie. So this mono red synth was pretty sweet too. It's actually more like the 1-drop synth deck, but it's playing 4 Namesticker Goblin and 3 Reckless Impulse. So it's 4 Blast Runner, 4 Bushwhacker, 4 Tomb Raider, 4 Epicure, 4 Namesticker Goblin for power, but no Lotus Petals, and then 4 Implement, 4 Synthesizer, and then 4 Galvanic, Kuldotha, Lightning Bolt, and 3 Reckless Impulse. So I think maybe in this deck, you should be playing Demand Answers instead of Reckless Impulse here, just because Reckless Impulse does not do that much when it hits your few Namesticker Goblins that you're not able to cast right away. And you can potentially hit the Implement or something, or discard one of your extra mountains. It's just something that I would do maybe. And then their sideboard is pretty balanced with Red Blast, Relics, Cast into the Fire, Smash, and the Festivities. I like this idea with End the Festivities and Smash the Smithereens and Cast into the Fire. So you really have 5 anti-affinity and 5 go wide red. They have 2 Gorilla Shamans too, which is even more anti-affinity. I think that might be a little aggressive. White Weenie by J-Waves, the White Weenie pilot that will not give up, always succeeds, so congrats J-Waves. Don't see anything too crazy in the deck, but that's cool to see. Got another posting by our pilot who's playing Rubble Belt Maverick and Seed of Hope. Nice. Then this is a Azorius Affinity with 8 Inspector plus Ornithopter. So they're very, very low to the ground once again. Those things can really power out your big creatures, and they're not playing any Frogmites. That's interesting. Maybe that is a good idea, because Frogmite's kind of weak, and having a 1-2 is almost the same as having a 2-2, especially if it's drawing you cards. So that's kind of a neat innovation. I didn't think about that before. On the last day, the 27th, we saw 0 mono red. That's wild. But we have 4 Golgari Gardens, 2 Cawgate, 2 Terror. So maybe all the gardens were just taking out the red decks. 1 Glitter Affinity, 1 Dredge, 1 Fams, 1 Mogwarts, 1 Mono Black Control, 1 Blackburn, and 1 Orzhov Blade. So this Orzhov Blade deck is your Glinhawk, Core Skyfisher. They're playing Indoctrination Attendant, which is another thing to bounce and replay. And 2 Thorns, 2 Goliath Paladins. Otherwise, it's just like your kill your stuff deck, get in. They've got Omen of the Dead for tons of value late game by picking up Core Skyfisher and returning all your creatures. Mono Black Burn by Forest Turf. Always nice to see Mono Black Burn doing well. Pretty stock though. Kind of, mono black burn is pretty good versus the red burn decks. We have the Familiars by GN42, who finally is starting to play loose focus. He said that's been relatively decent for him. And it's kind of like a mix of Seagate Oracle, Meaning of Minds, or not Meaning of Minds, Seagate Oracles. We see Modern Ages, we see Deep Analysis, 20 lands, a couple of Lorien revealed. But he likes to play a little bit more value with the Seagate Oracle, and those things can block, so that's pretty good. He also is playing a Sage's Rodenison in the sideboard. He said that timeout was a concern for him. Here's Mono Black by True Name Nemesis, which is almost the same thing as the Gardens deck, but this is just Mono Black. And he's got like Pristine Talisman, Ill-Gotten Inheritance over here. It's like a win condition, but his real win condition is looping, campfires, and crypt rats, trolls. So the long endgame deck. All right, that does cover it for this week. If you are interested in checking out more of my content, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what deck you thought was the sickest. Maybe I'll play that in a video. And don't forget to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/kalikaiz, if you are trying to find sideboard guides for Familiars, Mono Red, Sticker Goblin, Poison Storm, stuff like that. Ultratron, eggs. I got all that stuff on the Patreon. Once again, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.